My name is Kathleen Charles. I like for people to call me Kat.
Toni, Fowler,
Fimo Mitchell,
Mariame, Touré,
Mercedes, Akira De Carlos,
Fabiola Ngamaleu Teumeni,
Kat, Kemba Mitchell, Amanda. I'm also known as MsBeen.
Balarama Holness,
Anne-Audrey.
Peter. My digital artist name is Peeta, so I go by the name Peeta.
I think that maybe that you have to go looking for it more than what you'd want. Like, I don't know, if it was like, sure, at school, like they have like this whole program that they offer for the students, but I don't think I'd necessarily go. Not because it's not catered to Black people specifically. I mean, maybe that's part of it, but it's just, I don't even feel like many students actually go. So I don't know in what ways it helps us. And then it's not necessarily, something that I know that's offered in the circles that I'm part of. So I'd have to go looking for it. And like, I know that there's plenty of Black mental health specialists. And like, I know like recently in the last year, people have been really good with sharing resources about that. But again, it's making it a priority, like looking for it. And then also when I think of the cost, I don't know if it's always free or not. So then I'm like, well, what am I gonna spend my money on? Is it gonna be on that, or is it gonna be on stuff for school, or like activities I wanna do that make me feel good? So I think it's those few things.
The barriers, I think there's just not enough Black mental health professionals to go to. But there's also the most prevalent barrier, I feel like, is like financial. Just because therapy is such it comes out of academia, so it's just like, it's expensive, and it's like, there's so much work and money that goes into just becoming a therapist. So it's like, of course, it's so expensive. But yeah, I wish we could, I guess, like have mental health services that were accessible financially, but like also not a burden, or not so much a burden, but it would be a healthy environment for the people who were administering mental health services. Because I feel like, once you can't just, make it affordable and then not, also meet the health professionals halfway and, realize that, okay, you're not like, you can't just like not give us enough money and just expect us to be here. So
one of it was myself, because, you have this preconceived notion that from the years of not talking about it with your closest peers, that mental health is like a sign of weakness. So for me, when I decided to take that leap, I was also extremely scared and skeptical as well. Is this gonna help me? Am I paying, like, why am I paying for this and stuff like that? But in the end, it ended up being a great decision. In general, I think that a great barrier to mental health, seeking counseling is the money, the cost. It's really expensive, and certainly for folks of color. And so that's something that we should really be working on, closing that gap, because absolutely.
The word came to me, but I'm also I'm thinking about it. But the first word I think is imposter syndrome. I know that probably we might not think that, but when you want to access healthcare, for so many reasons, you might not do that. Even when you really need it, you might think that, that's a rich thing. So you can think about that and that's rich people's thing, or I can't afford it, or it's often very expensive and inaccessible for a lot of people. That's why in my practice, I do a lot of decolonizing the spiritual practices, so you can start off with nothing, because a lot of the times people before us didn't have anything, but they still had a practice, they still had a routine. Using water as portals, water, praying and stuff like that. But I think imposter syndrome, because you feel like you might not deserve the care, you might not have a therapist who reflects what you would want to see, or like parts of you that you feel like vulnerable enough sharing?
First of all, there's cultural incompetence of therapists. I had countless stories of Black people telling me that I had a therapist that, like, and I've lived a microaggression in session, and like, it makes me so mad, because I'm like, you don't understand the power that you have. This person is literally, it's not even like when you're a surgeon and somebody's bleeding, all you gotta do is, you know, stop the bleeding and hopefully fix the thing that started the bleeding in the first place. But when you're a therapist, there's no visible wound. This person is coming to like show you their soul and tell you that they're suffering and that they may or may not know whether they want to continue existing among us as another human. And you have the audacity to not educate yourself around like the other social things that are affecting their life. Like, it makes me so mad. And I'm just like, I've heard too many stories, and I feel like for me that's the biggest barrier that Black people face when it comes to therapy, especially here in Montreal, because Quebecers are a different type of white, you know, and it hit different, you know? So I just, like, that's a barrier. And then there's also like the ignorance of like the financial barriers that a lot of immigrants and Black people face here in like just accessing therapy, because you think that you're gonna meet one therapist and pay them $100, that is gonna be it. But no, you gotta go shopping. It's create yourself a therapist, Amazon. Like because it's all about the relationship. If you don't have a good relationship, like the relationship is part of the healing. Trauma happens in relationships, so healing also happens in relationships. So if your relationship with your therapist is not good, you're wasting your money. Hey, so make a budget to like find a therapist where you have a good relationship. And so, and then there's also like in the Black community, we have been, I don't know who taught us this, but somebody somewhere down the generational pipeline told us that therapy is for white people. No, like, and like, I understand like you're sitting in front of a colonizer and you're telling them about your deepest secrets, and like, we don't want to tell our business and stuff, and I get that. But like, what about, you know, the healing women, the medicine women that we go see? Like, sometimes you go to them to get some basil leaves and like, you know, have a spiritual bath, but that's not all you're going for. You be telling her your shit. You go and your confessions with your priest at your church, that's a therapy session. Like, what you think this is? And so I think it's kind of like dispelling that notion that like therapy in that institutional context doesn't really look like what we understand therapy to be. Like, we understand therapy to be more spiritual, and so when you get in a very sterilized context and you're sitting in a chair in front of somebody and you're just supposed to, that doesn't mean anything to us. And so those are the three barriers that I think.
Black healing is powerful.
In the world that we live in, Black healing is audacity, and I just hope that we continue just being as audacious as we can.
Black healing is essential. You know, I think our foreparents all had dreams and aspirations. So if we want to fulfill that, and if we want to stand in our power, I think healing is essential. Now, we don't completely heal. I don't believe we're ever completely healed, but just be on the path of healing. Because on that path, there's a lot of different doors that open up, a lot of different opportunities. So if you're on that path, man, you know, you recognize other people on the path too.
Black healing is a celebration of life. Black healing is power.
Black healing is empowering. Yeah, it's necessary, it's essential, it's vital. Yeah.
Black healing is love. I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Black healing is Black joy, I think. I think once you can find joy in being Black, you can find joy in being around other Black people, being connected to your community, whatever that is, because Black is all-encompassing, so many cultures, so many different identities, that sort of thing. So once you can find that, just like being happy around people, that's really what I think Black healing means.
I think it's a process. Like, I don't know, you go through a lot of trauma when you're a kid, especially a Black kid or from other minority groups, and carry a lot in your heart over the years. But I think in these past few years, I've been more conscious of what I've been through, and it's like now I'm starting to fight back and like take back my power. So it's like a process, and like in 10, 20 years, I'll definitely be at a different place. And I feel like as time goes, my heart is gonna get lighter and lighter. And
power. If you're able to heal yourself, you empower yourself. And the reason why the plight of the Black community continues is because the healing has never been accomplished. And if you are continuously scarred or reliving racism or reliving trauma, well, you're never able to heal, and then you're never able to really truly empower yourself. So once you're able to heal those wounds, that's when you become empowered.
I think Black healing, I think it's a long journey within. I think it's a lot of like of thinking, you know, and it's, you know, it plays in the head at the end of the day, you know, so I think it's like a journey that's within, that's like, that's never ending, you know.
Black healing is abundance.
Black healing is grounding, is universal. It is our communication with our ancestors. Black healing is now. Black healing is consistent. Black healing is the smile on my face.
Yeah.